One of the most common concerns college students have is their grade. Students wonder all the time what their grade is in a particular class. To scratch this itch, they normally go to Blackboard and check their grades there. Usually professors are good at uploading grades in a timely manner, but that's not the problem. Students often assume that the overall point total on Blackboard is an accurate representation of their grade at that moment, when that's usually not the case. Almost all professors have different weights depending on the nature of a specific assignment. For instance, exams are usually weighted more than homework problems in a math class. Because of these different weights, the grade a student actually has at any given moment in a class could actually be higher or lower than what Blackboard says. This is a problem that I encountered early in my college career. I was curious about my grade in my freshman biology class, and Blackboard wasn't accurately answering my questions. In order to fix this problem, I learned how to use equations in Excel to make what I call grade sheets. These grade sheets will take the grades that a student receives and put them through various equations that use the weight of each grade type to calculate the student's current overall class grade. I'll go over a few different example syllabi during our discussion and connect the themes in these syllabi to themes you may find in your own professor's syllabi. This first syllabi on the left side of the screen mentions two different types of students in the 199 section and in the 399 section. We will assume that we're in the 199 section, so the library research paper at the bottom of the syllabus grading scale will not apply to us. The first thing you want to do is make headers for each type of assignment. The less headers, the better, so try to group assignments together when you can. In this particular class, there are a lot of different assignments that don't necessarily fit into a category well, so we will make one header that is just titled Course Assignments. Each assignment under the Course Assignments heading will need a grade associated with it, so we will add a grade column next to the Course Assignments column. Next, we notice that there are two types of assignments that can have their own grouping, reading quizzes and pick a passage assignments. So we will add these into their own columns with respective grade columns. Next, we need to type the different assignments under their respective columns. In the Course Assignments column, we will have class participation, calendar, strong interest inventory, Myers-Briggs type, career assignment number 1, career assignment number 2, group project / presentations, POP, and journals. As a side note, we're going to assume journals is one grade instead of a lot of different grades added together, since the syllabus doesn't tell us exactly how many journals there are. If you knew how many journals there were, you could add them into their own group in another column next to the pick a passage / grade column that is respective to the pick a passage. So in cell rows G and H, you could put journals right here and then grade right here. But since we don't know the number of journals, we'll just leave it as it is, as one assignment. Next, we will add the reading quizzes and pick a passage assignments into their respective columns. We know that if reading quizzes account for 80 points and they are 10 points each, then there are 8 reading quizzes. So we'll have reading quiz 1, and then you drag it down until you get to the 8th, and that'll be your 8 reading quizzes. With the pick a passage, we can use the same logic. Since they're 10 points each, and there's 90 points total accounted for by pick a passage, you'll know there will be 9 pick a passages. So you'll drag that down to the 9th. So the next thing we have to do is calculate how many points we could possibly get. Whenever you're calculating your current grade, you need to know not only how many points you have accumulated in the class so far, but also how many points have been available to accumulate in the class so far. In other words, how many points would you have if you got 100% on every single assignment that's been graded so far in the class? One common issue students run into when they try to do these calculations on their own is using the total possible points, which we'll put down here. and we'll put total points that we actually have just above it. Students will use the total possible points available at the end of the semester, which in this case would be 695. This is only once every assignment has been turned in, which is probably not true for a student in the middle of the semester. The way we fix this is by using logic in Excel. The overall idea is using if statements. We will basically tell Excel that if an assignment has not occurred yet, then we'll just add 0 to the total possible points. And if an assignment has occurred, then we'll add the number of points we could have gotten from that assignment. So for instance, with the group project, if the group project has occurred and we've been graded for it, then we could have gotten 75 points. That's not necessarily how many points we did get, but that's how many we could have gotten. The way we tell Excel whether or not an assignment has occurred is through the word no. You can use any word you want, but this is the word I've personally used throughout college for my grade sheets. So let me show you how this looks in practice. You'll put no on your grades for all of your assignments. So this is assuming that this student has had no assignment grades yet. So this would be at the very beginning of the semester before anything has been graded. And then you'll open up the cell next to the total possible points, and we'll start with an equal sign. And that basically tells Excel that you're getting ready to type in an equation. After the equal sign, you're going to type in the word if, followed by an open parentheses mark. After this, Excel will come up saying this right here: if logical test, comma, value if true, comma, value if false. We will begin with the first assignment, class participation. So basically we want to say if the grade for class participation says no, which is as you can see in cell B2, so B2, if it says no, so we say equals quote unquote no, so if B2 says no, comma, the value we want to give that is 0. And if it doesn't say no, so if it's false, then we want to give it 150 because that's the total number of points you can get from class participation. You'll continue to do this. You'll say plus, so has class participation been graded? And then next thing we want to do is say now see if calendar has been graded. So if, and that one has been B3. And you'll notice it will highlight the cell you're referring to on Excel. So it's an easy way to check whether or not the cell you're typing in is the cell you mean to be typing in. So if B3 equals no, also, similarly, if it equals no, we want to give it a value of 0. So for instance, if class participation is no and calendar is no, then we'll just have a total of 0 at this point. Now if class participation or if calendar has been graded, so we have a grade in the grade column, so cell B3, then we want to give that a total possible 15 points. And you'll continue this. So if B4 equals no, comma, 0, comma, and that's the strong interest inventory, so we have 20 possible points for that. And then keep going. If B5 equals no, comma, 0, comma, and that one is 20 also for the Myers-Briggs type. And you'll keep doing this over and over again until, and just for the practice of video, I've copied this statement, so you don't have to watch me type it all out. You'll have something that looks like this, that if you look at the B5, B6, at the cell referrals in my equation, they all have colors and they refer back to the grade. And every single one has its own. You'll notice anything after D2 will be worth 10 points because, as we remember, reading quizzes and pick-up passages were worth 10 points each. So everything after that is worth 10 points, where you says 0, 10, 10, 10. All the ones before that will be worth a varied number of points. 150, for instance, for the class participation, and then B7, which is the career assignment, is actually worth 40, whereas a career assignment number 1 is 30. So the overall structure, if, parentheses, you put the cell of the grade, and you say if that equals whatever word you want. I particularly use no because it makes it very clear, no, I have not done this. If it says no, then you're going to put 0. You're going to calculate 0 possible points. But if it doesn't say no, essentially if you have a number in there, then you want to be calculating as if you could have gotten 150 points because that's the total number you could have gotten. And you'll notice one more thing. If you put in 13 in calendar, you'll notice it changes the total possible points to 15, which goes along with what it's supposed to do, because that's the number of points, if you notice, if you look back on the syllabus, that calendar can give you. So the next thing you need to do is calculate total points. And this is pretty easy. All you need to do is you want the total points to go up as your actual grades go up. So you'll just say equals the sum of, so you want to sum all of these numbers. So this, comma, this. So you want to sum together all of your columns of grades. And don't worry, if it says no, it will just basically calculate it as a 0, so we should have it say 13, and it does. So now we have the total number of points and the total possible points. The only thing we have left to do is calculate our total grade in the class. Your actual grade in a class is ultimately the number of points you have divided by the number of points you could have multiplied by 100 to make it a percentage. Then you can qualify, of course, as an A, B, C, or D, depending on what that percentage is. Then, of course, you can decide whether or not you need to change your approach to the class based on the grade you have and the grade you would like to have. In the blocks next to where we're going to put current grade, and I usually put it just below the total points and total possible points. So we're going to say current grade, and in the cell just next to that, you'll put your equal sign, which again just means that you're getting ready to do an equation. You'll say equals total number of points divided by the total possible points. And we get this decimal, 0.8667. And anyone who's been in education for a little bit knows this means this person has an 86.67. But in order to make it a percentage, it's pretty easy. If you go up to the top where it says number, you can change the number type, and you can just change that to a percent. So then it'll tell you you have an 87. The other situation you'll commonly have is you'll have a professor just have 5 exams, for instance. So if they just have 5 exams, it's actually a lot easier to calculate this. But you'll notice it's very similar to what we did before. So you'll have your exams and then your grade, just like before. And let's just say you have 3 exams. You'll have total points and total possible points. And also, to make it easy, let's just say each exam is worth 100 points. Now, of course, if they're not worth 100 points, if they're worth a different number, you would just change in your if-then statement the number of points each exam is worth. So let's say we haven't done any exams yet. You could say equals if this equals no. So if exam 1, if we haven't taken exam 1, then we'll have 0 points. And if we have, then we need to calculate as if we could have gotten 100 points. Same thing with the next one. And since not all of them say no, it says you have 0 possible points. Once we get a grade on an exam, let's say we get a 78 on our first exam, you'll notice it comes up with 100 as your total possible points. Similarly to before, you'll just do sum, and you'll sum these 3 together, and that will give you the total number of points you have. We'll put our current grade cell down here. Just like before, we'll do total points divided by total possible points and convert that into a percentage. So as you progress through the semester, you can say, well, I was really aiming for an A or a B or an A if possible. So let's say you really kick it in gear and you get a 94 on your next exam and you have an 86. You can start to toy with, before your exam 3, you can start to toy with and kind of figure out, what do I need to get a 90 in this class, to get an A in this class? And, well, 98 would get it. Would a 97? Yes. But the 96 drops you below, so you know you need at least a 97 on the exam. So you can kind of start to gauge how you're doing in the class and what you need to do if you need to change anything in order to do better. So I hope this tutorial has helped you learn how to create grade sheets and how to kind of get a more reliable picture of where you're at any given point in the semester. Just remember to look at the number of points each thing is worth. So this number right here in this particular syllabi. And make sure that your calculation reflects that. As long as your calculation reflects that, then it will calculate your grade correctly, and it'll give you an idea of what your grade is at that current point in time.